Good morning, everybody. This is Matthew Fleming from Advantage Business Systems. I'd like to welcome you to what is, I think it's our fourth webinar so far this year, around the automation and the increased efficiency that we can build into Microsoft Dynamics GP. That's both from within the core product, but also from the addition of third-party solutions and working with partners. We've done a little bit about credit control. We've done a little bit about workflow within the product itself, and we've got further webinars scheduled for the next 2 or 3 months around purchase order processing, P2P process, things like that. Things that we can use to actually drive efficiency, both within Dynamics GP and, as I say, through the use of third-party products. On the call with me today, I've got Matthias Brunk from Solver. Matthias has been working with us for some time. We've got a number of joint customers. Solver provide a product called BI360. We have typically used Solver BI360 for budgeting and forecasting, but I hope Matthias is going to talk you through that today and possibly show you a little bit more around the product and the fact that it actually can be used and is being used by a number of our clients as a business intelligence tool as well. So hopefully he'll cover that off. A little bit of housekeeping. We've got 3 or 4 companies on the call today, so we will keep you guys muted. Apologies for that. You do have a questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen. If you fill the questions in as we go along, I will ask Matthias those questions at appropriate times, so we don't sort of keep interrupting him. We've also got a number of handouts and case studies, which Matthias has kindly provided, and what I will do is I'll send them out after the event so that you can have a read of them. And I'm more than happy if Matthias wants to contact you guys directly, share your information with him. He can sort of reach out to you after the event and see if you want to see the product in a little bit more detail. Not to take too much of your time today, so that's the housekeeping out of the way. So what I'd like to do now is, if you're there, Matthias, I'd like to just hand over to you, give you control of the screen, and you can take us through BI360.
Thank you. So I am here. I'm just going to share my screen, and Matt, once you can see my screen, please let me know.
That's excellent, Matthias. Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay. So yeah, can you see it now?
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you.
Good. So thank you, everyone. My name is, as already said, Matthias. I'm based in Stockholm at the moment, operating the European part of the Solver business with BI360. And again, Matt, I just went into presentation mode, so if I'm not showing the correct screen, please let me know. It's supposed to be a full screen now.
It's not full screen, Matthias, but we can see the slides.
All right, so let's keep it like this. So my goal for this session is to demonstrate BI360, that is a live reporting, budgeting, and forecasting tool for Dynamics, both GP and also NAV, but I will focus on GP today. With that product, we are actually offering Dynamics customers a self-service reporting and budgeting and forecasting tool. So the whole concept of the product BI360 is to get customers an add-on that they can use without having consultants involved in producing the budgets and forecasting templates, and as well as the budget and forecasting process. So I will talk a little bit about the product, and I will show you a lot about the product today in the demonstration. I think I will be able to do that in about 30-35 minutes with respect to everybody's time, so there should definitely be enough room for questions at the end. The agenda will be a short introduction to Solver, just to put ourselves on the map. You may or may not have heard of us or BI360. Very quick about the different modules we have, extremely quick about the reporting add-in, and then of course more focus on the planning module, that's budgeting and forecasting live on GP, but also with a possibility to have advanced budgeting with a data warehouse if needed. And then most focus on the actual demonstration and a little bit at the end about the roadmap and pricing. So what about Solver? Solver is a global company with about 1,700 companies using BI360. We operate together with partners, in this case Advantage, since the partners are normally the ones that know your specific Dynamics version best, and we try to involve them as much as possible. We have customers in more than 40 countries. We have offices in more than 12 countries. So from Sweden, where I'm based, we have our European hub, but we do have local offices and local companies, both in UK, in the Netherlands, in Norway, of course in Sweden, and we're looking at starting in the Middle East for next year. So we try to have local sales and support offices, but the main hub for Europe is in Stockholm, where we have more than 30 consultants. And the development of BI360 is located in Los Angeles and in Oslo, Norway. So the development team is about 60 people on full-time developing BI360 as a product with global support as well as local support. You may or may not have seen that Gartner, that's an independent research company, has actually put Solver in the so-called CPM quadrant for 3 years in a row, which means that we are one of top 16 global vendors that can offer corporate performance management software, which means reporting, budgeting, and statutory consolidation. So we have one platform for all those business requirements. And of course, Europe is always better than North America, at least if you ask me, and we can see that we are the best growing entity and have been for the past 3 or 4 years. So looking at the two starting modules in BI360, we have the live reporting and the live dashboards. So these operate live on the Dynamics database. So it's not an add-in to Dynamics, it's an add-on. So we put it side by side, we connect with a pre-built integration to the Dynamics source system where all your information is located. And we expose that to the super users, and I think for Dynamics we have about 4,000 fields included in this pre-built integration, where you as a super user are able to design your reporting and budgeting templates with a drag and drop designer that's built into the Excel. So the designer, the super user, works from within Excel, and you will see this. The end users are then viewing the reports in Excel or in the web-based portal. They can also enter budgets and forecasts in the web-based portal, directly writing back to the budgeting tables in Dynamics. So next 2 slides, or in 2 slides, I will show you the budgeting and forecasting module, but this is basically the core of BI360. It's the live reporting tool for Dynamics. In that integration, of course, you also have an administrative interface to handle user permissions, integration customizations, etc. So that is also one important thing to note. If you have made extensions to Dynamics, and I have still not seen one single customer that has not, those extensions, for instance, added attributes, added UDF fields, or added tables, can also be extended into the integration and used for live reporting and budgeting. So all of that is handled in BI360 standalone of GP. So there we go. So this is basically what I said. It's live on the ERP system. If a new transaction is created and you run the report, you will see the new transaction summarized in the report. So it's live, it's Microsoft based. We use SQL Server for storage. That's where the GP database is. We use Office for design, and we use web for viewing. So adding the budgeting module or budgeting and forecasting module in between reporting and dashboards, you will actually get a full suite, including report, budgeting, and dashboards, all web-based, all live on Dynamics, and all self-service. So normally when we implement BI360, we do that with 1 day of installation, 1 day of training for the super users, and then 1 to 2 or 3 days for customizing the budgeting templates according to your specifications. We have done several cases where we offer a fixed price of 5 days implementation altogether, plus a fixed price for software, and you actually are up and running with a live budgeting and forecasting system within 1 week's time. So that is something I would of course be happy to discuss if you're interested after this session or at another point in time. Just let me know afterwards. So BI360 budgeting and forecasting actually comes in 2 versions, and the one you will see today is the first one on this slide. It's live on the ERP system. I just want to mention that we have a full version with an out-of-the-box BI360 data warehouse. And the difference between these two in general is that a budgeting tool with BI360 that's live on the ERP system, in your case Dynamics GP, that will only operate on information that's within GP, right? We cannot add information from somewhere else unless it's in the GP database because we're live on GP. However, with the full version, there's full possibility to integrate multiple data sources, have advanced driver-based templates for payroll, for revenues, for investments, etc., etc. So what you will see today is the live version. That's a simplified version. If you have more advanced budgeting requirements than that, I just want to let you know that the full version will definitely support that. The full version is also Microsoft based, same concept with template design. The difference is that we can use information from other data sources and we can have more advanced business rules and calculations with, for instance, business drivers in the full version. And the full version is basically this. We put the data warehouse in between. You can still have live reporting and dashboards on Dynamics, but the budgeting module will communicate with the BI360 data warehouse, to which you can integrate any source system as well as cloud systems and of course manual Excel uploads, etc. So it's just that we're putting the data warehouse in between Dynamics and the budgeting interface for more advanced budgeting. But again, this is the full version. I will show you the live version now. So going back from presentation mode, back here, I'm gonna hide that. So if we start from the end user perspective, working with BI360 budgeting and forecasting, they will access the system from the web-based interface that we have. So I will show you the end user interface first, and then I will focus a lot more on how you can actually design the reports and the budgeting and forecasting templates and how easy it is. But for GP and this budgeting scenario, we have a pre-built package that we could install during these 5 days in total. And this is what you would get, but live on your GP system, of course, not on mine. So first of all, you will get one budget input template that will look like this. So as an end user, I'm logging into the portal. I will see the library, a list of all our templates. Of course, you can have user permission of what users can see what templates, as well as what user can see what information in each template. So I have what we call a matrix-driven permission system. So it's very easy to create generic templates used by a lot of users, but all of them will be filtered by the individual user permissions in terms of, for instance, cost centers, sales departments, country regions, etc. But in the out-of-the-box package for GP, you will get 4 different templates. 2 are for input, 2 are for budget consolidation. I will show you all 4 of those now. First one is the budget input template. And as an end user, I will click on that actual template. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So what happened now was, let me full screen that. And let me move that to the right. Okay, so what we got now is a rendered template. So this is not an Excel file that's published to the web. This is a dynamic template, and you will see a lot more of that. What happens was that I have some preset parameters. For instance, in this case, for what months do I have the actuals this year, because I'm supposed to do my budget for next year. I have selected a department. So the template is dynamic. When I click on the magnifier, I will see a list of the available departments that I have in my specific version of GP. In this case, it's a demonstration database from GP. And if I'm responsible for department 300, I would select that. I would click refresh, and this report would automatically be updated with the budgets and actuals for that specific department. And all of this now takes a couple of seconds to render because it's based in US, this demonstration server, so please forgive me for that. And let's give it a couple of seconds to publish. The same for budget IDs. So normally what you do, and I didn't have any budget numbers for that department, so let's go back to that one. So what you normally do is you create a budget ID for next year in GP, and once you have created that in GP, it will be able for selection by the end users in this selection list. So everything you see, both from the selection list as well as the information in the actual report, are live on GP. If you change something in GP, this would be updated. So in this case, I'm supposed to do my budget for next year connected to the budget ID budget 2016. And to the right, in this template, I have the actuals for this year, January to September, because that was what I selected. And then for the remaining periods this year, if I would have a budget 2 numbers, that would be my current forecast, I would see those numbers here, giving me a yearly total for this year to compare with the yearly total for next year that I'm supposed to budget in this interface. And a quick comment that you will see in a couple of minutes is that everything in this appearance, in terms of colors, fonts, column orders, etc., is customizable. So if you want the actuals to the left instead of to the right in this case, that's very easy to fix. It takes about 5 minutes for a super user, if even that. If you want yellow or dotted or pink cells for data input, that's also very easy to change, because I will show you later on how you customize and build these templates using Excel formatting and Excel formulas. So when you see this and think, could they do this or could we do that? You should think, would that be possible to do within Excel? And if the answer is yes, the answer would be yes for BI360 as well. But again, this is the out-of-the-box template that we customize during 2 or 3 days implementation. So we would use your colors, your logos, your kind of parameters that you would wish, etc. What we have built into the template is also a grouping on account. So for instance, I have my revenue accounts up here first, depending on how they are classified in GP. So if you would run this exact template on your system, you would see your revenue accounts, of course, not mine, and you would also see the names of the revenue accounts that you have in your system. So everything is live on GP. We have structured this in a P&L version. So out of the box, you would get revenue first. You would get a discount account that would calculate total revenue. If you have COGS, I do not in this section. You would see the COGS account, etc., etc. So all of these are built with Excel and could be customized according to your P&L structure. And that is what we normally do during 2 or 3 days. We take your P&L structure in the chart of accounts, we recreate it and remap these groupings, and it would reflect the way you want to do your budget. If needed, we can also add, for instance, another template for payroll that's FTE based, for instance, or if you want to have some calculated accounts where the user is supposed to enter a percentage instead of a value, that's also quite easy to customize. But going back to the end user view, what you do if you're doing a budget is that you enter the budget number, in this case 50,000 and maybe 45,000. Again, this is like working in Excel, so you can copy paste. You can do a lot of things. You can even copy paste from other spreadsheets and copy paste into this one if needed. The thing is, once you're done with your input or you want to do a save, you click on Store Data. What's happened now was that all the changed values were written back to GP. So now they're actually stored in the budgeting table in GP and could be viewed either in BI360, of course, but also in any other reporting tool that you might have on GP, or also in the built-in reports in GP reading the budget numbers. So there's no data loading, there's no transaction or processing times that you need to wait. And this means if we are 10 or 100 department managers doing our budgets at the same time, once any one of us have saved or stored our values, you could have a report pulling up the consolidated budget in real time throughout your organization, and either by account in this case, or in a summarized report where you only display, for instance, the overall P&L account groups, showing you a very fast consolidated view of the actual P&L. I will show you that report because that's also included in a couple of minutes. Either way, to enter numbers, it's no rocket science. You enter values, you click on Store Data, and values will be written back. That's the core concept of BI360. The same way as the actuals are actually read in real time from GP when I ran the report or when I click refresh. So these are the actual transactions, and of course if I'm supposed to do my budget for installation charges in US, I want to look at the actuals. What I can do is I can right click, I can do a drill down, and I will see a list of the underlying transactions. In this case, I only had one transaction on this account and this month, but the drill down is available in any report when you are right-clicking on a consolidated or a summarized value. So normally this would be a long list of transactions. I'm not sure if my details has more transactions, probably not. Let's have a look. No, it was only one. But this would be a live transaction view on GP in your case. So that can always be done, as well as if I had any forecasting values, I could right-click on those as well. So summarized values can always be drilled down. Budgeting values that I'm supposed to enter can either be entered in this way, or I could right-click on the input cell and I will get a pop-up window giving me some help for this budget. So let me just select another account where I have some actions, like let's take that one. So as you can see now, I have a number of possibilities to do some spreadings. For instance, I can enter, like I did, a value using a custom distribution. So these are the values I actually entered in the window behind this pop-up window. But as you can see above here, I get a support and I see the last year's actuals. So I can select a new yearly total. So let me get the zeros right. Maybe add another one, 1 million. And I can say that use the same distribution curve as my last year's actuals. So I'm actually adding a yearly total, distributing that according to the last year's actual, all done by the system. Or of course, I can have an even one if I want to divide it by 12. That's maybe a straightforward one. And some quarterly and some summer and winter curves. These curves are actually allocation curves that you can control as an administrator. So you can have custom allocation curves in the live budgeting solution where you restrict how the end users can use them, meaning they cannot change the allocation curve. That is centrally controlled, but you can make it available for the end users. So for instance, if you have some standard allocation curve that you want to use for some certain accounts, you can instruct the end users to use those. Also, you can add what we call line item details. So if the budget numbers or the budget values for this specific account is a combination of, I don't know, customer A and the rest, for instance. So let me see, customer A. I might want, as an end user, to divide my budget value into a couple of subsections. This is what we call line item detail, and it will create 3 rows connected to this account. So I'm just making a bone example here saying customer A and the rest. And as you can see, the values I'm adding here are all summarizing to the account level and being stored and presented on account level in any budget summary report. But these underlying line item details could be seen as comments. Of course, you can also add a comment in the terms of a text comment. But more important, it's a way of breaking a value down to the underlying level if wanted or if needed. Not required, but if wanted. So BI360 budgeting has support for allocation curves and distribution curves. You can add what we call line item details. You could also use, of course, not that one. I had actuals on that one, I think. Yeah, no. I'm just going to find the account again where I had some distributions. Yeah, so here I have some actuals. So of course, I could also use and select a distribution curve based on the last year's actual, but increased or decreased with 5% or 3%, etc. So that is also something that's built in out of the box. So this is the budgeting template with the BI360 functionality. We have a forecasting template also out of the box. It works and looks similar. The difference is I do a selection for this year, meaning I'm supposed to do a forecast for the remaining period this year. So depending on my user selection, I will get 1 to 12 columns for input, and the rest of the columns will be populated with actuals. In this case, I don't have any other columns to the right, so I'm supposed to do a a forecast for the remaining of this year. And I am in October, so I have actuals up to September. Again, drill down is always possible. And whatever I enter in these cells are also written back, but in this case, not to the budget 2 ID. These are marked as a forecast 1 or forecast 2 or whatever you want to call it. This is also a budget ID from GP. So this works in the same way. This will follow the same chart of account structure that you have in your P&L, like you could modify in the budget templates. It's also included in the out-of-the-box package. So 2 input templates. If you want to change things in the forecasting templates, for instance, I want to have a rolling 12 months forecast forward and a rolling 12-month actual backward. That's also a 5-minute change to the template. Not that you need to rebuild the system for that. It's all about you deciding on your budgeting and forecasting process. That type of changes are normally something we add very easily. Of course, a lot of the Excel groupings and ungrouping functionality is available also in the web interface. So anyone that's familiar with Excel will learn very fast, both to be a designer, but also as an end user, it's quite easy to learn the tool. It's basically to find the cell you're supposed to enter value in. You enter the value, you click on store, everything is done. You never have to email an Excel spreadsheet ever in your life. At least not related to budgeting. I cannot speak for the other Excel spreadsheets you are emailing, but still, everything is live consolidated. So that's budget input, that's forecasting input. I do not want to make any changes. Then we come to the more fun stuff, if you ask me, that's the reports. So for GP, we have out-of-the-box integration with 4,000 fields that you can build your own reports upon. I will show you that at the end. We also have, I think, about 35 pre-built reports being able to run out of the box live on your GP. But with a budgeting and forecasting perspective, I'm just going to find the consolidated reports for budgeting. Here they are. So out of the box, you will get 2 consolidated reports summarizing the budgets and forecast. So of course, if you have multiple users that you normally do, you have budget inputs for a number of departments. So template or report number 1 that you get included is a summary of all your departments and the summarized budget values by account in your P&L structure. So this is the sum of all departments. But this report is actually a report book that will show you one tab for each selected department. And once again, this is not a spreadsheet uploaded to a web portal. It's a live report generated depending on my selection. And in this case, for what year I want to see the summary. So the same template would be used next year for 2017 by selecting period 1 and then click OK. I will not do that now because it took a couple of seconds to load and I don't want to waste any time. But the template is dynamic, not static. So again, this is an out-of-the-box report summarizing the budgets by department. In this case, you get departments by tab. The other report you would get included is basically the same, but you get the departments across columns instead by tabs. So in this case, this would be a summary of all the budgets or forecast entered throughout your organization. But you get each department on a column for the full year, of course, and a summary column with the totals. So this, once again, same P&L structure as you have seen always, and it would be your exact P&L structure that we customize for you. The fifth thing you get out of the box in 5 days, budgeting, forecasting, and reporting, is a budgeting dashboard. So this is also live on GP. It runs in the portal, and it will show you a dashboard with different KPIs out of the box, visualizing your budgets. In this case, you have first budget by department. You could click and it will bring you down on account level. In this case, I'm only displaying account name. A better way could be to have account number with account name, but that's easy to customize. You can, of course, go back and you will see the different departments again, and I can do a drill down on sales. And when I click on one department, the other components were actually changing. So if I'm going back and click on administration, you can see the pie chart and the line diagram are also changing, reflecting, of course, the account budgets for that specific department, together with a detailed grid where you actually can see the exact budget amount by each account. So this dashboard is also included together with the budget input template, the forecasting input template, and the 2 consolidated reports. That's the budgeting package out of the box. Now, with that, you will actually get the report design possibilities of the 4,000 fields from GP. I just want to take 5 minutes very quick to show you how you actually could upload your own reports. Of course, combining budget with actuals, but maybe in this case, this is an accounts payable report showing you the aging per vendor, depending on if I, of course, would have any values. So let me go back and find a report that's actually pulling something without me having to search for it. Let me see if this is running. Refresh. Let me see. Yeah. So in this case, I'm selecting all the vendors. So this has nothing to do with budgets, right? This is my vendor list live on GP. It's just one example report that we have pre-built for GP. In this case, it's just showing me for each vendor my subtotal transactions with also possibility to drill to the PDF if you have scanned invoices. I did not have that activated on my system, but that's also possible. And again, it's live on the system, meaning the GP database. I might not be able to drill down here. So what we have is budgeting and forecasting out of the box. You will get 25 reporting templates. I don't have time to show you all of them, but it's a lot of things in here that you will get included. For instance, a P&L displaying actual versus budget in a little bit more graphical way. Of course, once again, customized on your P&L, but here are my actuals from GP together with the budgets entered by BI360. The variance is, of course, calculated for my selected time period. And in this case, we have added some charts to the right to display the difference between actual and budget. So this is also something out of the box. But even more important, you get the report designer included. So this type of report that you are looking at now is designed using our BI360 Super User Designer in Excel. And I just want to show you this for 5 minutes. What you do if you go through 1 day of training as a super user, you're able to administrate, of course, permissions, etc. for the budgeting solution, but you also have the possibility, if wanted, to use the reporting capabilities with BI360. So what I'm doing is I'm connecting to my specific GP system. Once I have that, and once I have gone through 1 day of training, and of course given that I'm familiar with Excel, I will have the possibility to build any type of report that will be dynamic. I will upload it to the web-based portal, and I will let the end users view the report in the web-based portal or in Excel. So this is for the super users a view of the 4,000 fields we have included in the integration for GP. So for instance, if we look in the Analytical Accounting GL Open module, we have a number of fields included. For instance, if we look on the actual details, we have even more fields. You can go into sales and provide and create sales summary reports depending on the line of business you want to have. So these are the work details from the accounts receivable. You have the scheduled payments. As you can see, here are a lot of the fields that you could use in any type of report. And what you do, just to show you how you actually work with the product, is you drag and drop. So if I am a designer and I want to use the report designer to create a report, I would just drag and drop. So a P&L would be account, maybe the account string together with the account description. This is the account name. If I run this now, I can run it in Excel. I will see a list of my chart of accounts, and this is my account string. I did not have the account description, so maybe that should be that one instead. Sorry. Let me run it again just to see that. Yeah, okay. So this is my chart of accounts live in GP. Whenever someone clicks run here or refresh in the portal, it will show me the list of charts of accounts that I have in GP. Not a very useful report yet, but still, this is how BI360 works. It's dynamic. I have a row group expanding depending on what's in GP. So if I want to build a P&L report, I would have account string. Of course, I want to find the posting periods. I'm going to create that as a column group. And if I have account and month, I want to find the transaction amount. And I will drop it in the intersection between month and account. And it will be summarized by BI360 automatically. So let me just modify my report parameter and select multi-selection, and let's run it, and let's select all. I'm just going to find for what periods I have some actuals to make a relevant example. So I actually going to use 2014. Okay. So anyone that wants to run this report that you have built can run it for 1 month, and they will see the actuals for January 2014 in this case. So if a new transaction is created and we are in January 2014, anytime anyone clicks run, those values will be updated. You could of course allow for end users to have a flexible column selection. In this case, create 1 or more columns depending on what they select. But a more important thing and more useful would be to have selected month, and I'm just giving you a view of the product, and maybe the same month last year and the difference in between. So this would be a standard financial report. If you maybe you should add year to date and last year to date and the difference between those two as well, but let's just stick with these as now. I'm creating 2 column groups. I'm going into function, and this is where you could actually use all the time intelligence functions we have. So I want this column automatically to be filtered by the same month last year. This is actually the same thing you would do in the forecasting template, where we currently had remaining periods this year for input, if you wanted to change that to a 12-month rolling, it would just be to replace that function with this function. That is how easy it would be to customize the forecasting templates to have a 12-month rolling forecast. And this, instead of having the first periods this year, you could have a rolling 12-month backward, showing you the 12 months actual previously and the 12 months forward for forecasting input, etc. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to remove that, and I say this should be this month last year. And now I'm done. I'm going to say it should be an amount. And if I want the difference between two values in Excel, I'm going to say that, well, if I have this month's actual in this column or in this cell and last year's month's actual in this one, the difference would be the one minus the other. So I'm just going to do like that. I'm going to very quick do some formatting, and this is something you can spend 2 weeks on. I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to say this is account and account name. I'm going to format all of this a little bit better and make it, I don't know, maybe you like blue, I do. White, these are all values, right? So I'm going to make that an English value, and I'm going to add a sum formula. So if I want to add a sum, that would be the Excel formula. So you can use any type of Excel formula. Summarizations, of course, plus minus, but more important, VLOOKUP, COUNTIF, SUMIF, etc. All the advanced Excel formulas are also supported both in the budgeting templates, of course, but also in the output report. So this is a sum total. And let's make it bold. And let's create the final thing is say this is my P&L report, like that. Let's remove that one. Let's hide that one if you don't like any empty rows, and let's run it. I think I might need to do one change, but let me see if it runs. Let's select January 2015. Yeah. So these are the actuals for the selected month. In my case, as an end user, January 2015, and this would look the same if I was running it in the portal. I would do my parameter selection like this, and it will work and function and show me the same values as when I'm running any template here. The only difference is, to be very clear, that the budgeting write-back functionality for budgeting and forecasting requires the end users to operate from within the web-based portal. So you cannot have live budgeting from within Excel. So this is the live view. This column was automatically filtered by the same month last year, in this case 2014. The difference is the Excel formula that has just been propagated all the way down. I have not added any row groups, so this is still my full shot of accounts, but at least it's balancing, and that's a good thing. So I have a summary, and that was basically in the wrong, no, that was actually balanced, yeah, because I have my full shot of account. But either way, once again, this is a very snapshot of the reporting and budgeting functionality. The drill down works from within Excel as well. So my report is still here. In the same way as I can in the web do a drill down, I can do a drill down in Excel, and I would see the full transaction details and all the transaction created on this account for this month that I actually right click. Next step, I won't do it now, but if I had some more time, would be to combine this with more fields, add parameters for departments or customers or products, etc. Also, in this case, I would not only have one row group for all my accounts, I would create more group rows, for instance, for first revenues, then my COGS, then my discounts, etc., maybe the expenses, the staff cost, etc. So what I would do is I would add a filter. So instead of having unfiltered, I would say either is this set of accounts in this group, or to be a little bit lazy, I would say all my accounts that starts with a 4 would be this group. So this is one of the groups that would summarize my 4 accounts, and I would create more sections similar to this into the actual definition. I don't have time to show you that, but this is just a view of what we can offer with the BI360 reporting. So just to go back to what I just showed you. We have the reporting designer in Excel. That's included whether or not you like it or not. It's required for the system to run. You get the web-based portal where you can have report viewers, but you can also have budget and forecasting write-back functionality. And in the web-based portal, you also have the possibility to build dashboards with drag and drop the same way I showed you the budgeting dashboard. So those can also be created all by your own. The pre-built integration connects directly and live to Dynamics. The designers, the super users design templates in Excel. They upload it to the portal, or the end users can view them in Excel as well. But normally they are viewed in the portal. And the administrative interface handles everything regarding permissions and extensions, etc. So there is no need to be bound to have each BI360 user also being a GP user. You can have them stand alone. We do also have software for automatically distributing reports to non-BI360 users. So you can actually design a template using the Excel designer. You can schedule a subscription with that module. We call it the BI360 publisher that will automatically, for instance, distribute the weekly or monthly sales report or P&L report by department to the department managers by email as an attachment, for instance, a PDF. And if you're using it, BI360 for budgeting and forecasting, could be a value to distribute the actual report where you compare actual versus budget once every month to a larger group of users that do not need a BI360 license. The publisher will distribute it by email as a PDF or an HTML or an Excel file automatically whenever you schedule it. So going back to the presentation and my final two slides, we have the BI360 roadmap, very brief. Of course, 60 people on full-time are doing a lot of changes and improvements all the time, but the biggest things on the radar for now is version 5. So we are now on version 4.7. Version 5 will be released during summer, and it will be two big news for us. First, it will be all HTML5 in the web portal, meaning it will be browser independent. It will be supported for mobile apps as well, both iPads, iPhones, etc. We will also release this as a cloud version. So we will actually host the BI360 data warehouse in the cloud, and we can offer reporting and budgeting based on our cloud solution, where we can connect to your on-premise source system, feeding data into our cloud system, and have a cloud license model for all your end users. The pricing is, of course, in general like this. You don't have to recall or write down the values. This will be distributed afterwards. But the base bundle, just to give you a view, is that from 4K, you get the Excel reporting designer, you need one administrator, and then it's per named user. And it's about 4,000 as a starting package. Then depending on what you require, for instance, web-based portal, multi-company report to produce consolidated reports throughout multiple companies in GP. That's a module. The budgeting module is a separate one, and the data warehouse is a separate one. Just to mention regarding pricing, this is just to give you a view. Is it 1K, 10K, or 100K? Well, it's from 4K up to a 10K, I would say, in average. What we do have at the moment is a bundle where you get the budgeting software, the web-based portal, and the report designer for 7.2K. So that's a 60% discount that we're actually including 4 users and the web-based portal. and the budgeting module for 7.2K. So with that, you will get 4 end users, 1 administrator, and the software modules needed for the reporting, budgeting, and forecasting, and dashboards live on G2. So if anything of this is of interest, please reach out to me or Matt afterwards, and we can have an individual discussion about first your requirements, and second, of course, the number of users, etc. you would have or need to have a quote for. This is just to give you a range of the pricing. And again, just to remind you, this offering of 7.2K licenses can be combined with a fixed price implementation of 5 days to have everything up and running and customized according to your specific requirements. So I think, Matt, I'm gonna stop right there. We are 8 minutes ahead at the moment.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I know it's hard to sit and talk to yourself for long periods of time, although I do it often. But I appreciate that. It was a good overview. I had 4 or 5 questions as we went along, nothing hugely pressing. A couple of them you've answered yourself in terms of where can the data be held? Can it be held locally or in the cloud? I think you've mentioned that the V5 is a cloud offering.
Yes.
Okay. Is it also available on-premise, or is it only on the cloud?
So it will be in 2 different versions, one on-premise and one cloud, so we can have both.
Okay, super. Okay, somebody asked, was the pricing available as a subscription, which you touched on as well. Compatibility with versions of Dynamics GP?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I need to verify the exact versions, but we are compatible with most versions out there. So I would like that person to specify what version they are using, and I can also if we are compatible or not. I don't have the version numbers in my head. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. The final question, which it might be a slightly longer answer than we've got time for, in which case we can take offline. There's a question about budgeting and forecasting across multiple legal entities with various currencies. I assume BI360 is full multi-currency?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the templates that I've shown you in the portal, they actually are running and pulling information from one company at a time. So we can have individual or one template being used, as you can see to the left. I only have one company in my system, but this could be a list of the companies you have, and they would be in local currency for write-backs if you have budgeting and forecasting. With the BI360 multi-company reporting module, we would then consolidate both the actuals as well as the budgeting numbers, both in local but also in group currencies. So we can support both a multinational and multi-currency environment.
Okay, that's great. That's super. What we'll do after the event, I'm recording the webinar anyway, so we've got a YouTube channel which will publish the webinar too if you want to revisit the webinar. I will contact everybody after the event with some additional literature about the product that Matthias has taken us through. And what I'll do is I'll copy Matthias on that so that he can then reach out to you if you need any more additional information, or if you want to contact him directly to with more questions, or possibly to arrange a more in-depth demonstration. Is that okay, Matthias?
That's perfectly fine.
Super, that's great. But other than that, thank you guys. Thank you for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar. Check out our events page at www.advantage.co.uk to see upcoming events. Once again, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for attending. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar. Thanks a lot, Matthias.
Thank you, Matt.